Hi everyone, you probably know serotonin as the mood stabilizer chemical, but did you know that 90% of it lives in your gut? And when life gets stressful, your serotonin levels can dip, slowing down digestion and letting your stomach acid run wild. Today, let's zoom together on how stress-driven serotonin changes can spark gastroesophageal reflux disease, or what's called GERD, and more importantly, how we can target serotonin to bring relief. Let's get started. When you're under chronic stress, your body shuns tryptophan, which we've learned in class is the building block of serotonin, into stress hormone pathways rather than into serotonin production. This less serotonin in our gut could disrupt one of its function, which is as a signal for the gut system to coordinate smooth muscle contractions. What would happen then? Food and acid would hang around longer, and this acid could creep into the esophagus, irritating the lining and setting the stage for the heartburn. If this acid exposure is being repeated, it's not only damage the esophageal lining, it also sensitizes and even rewires the local nerve pathways, which we'll zoom in soon. That's why controlling GERD isn't only about cutting down on the acid, it means calming and correcting those misfiring nerves too. So what exactly are serotonin's roles in our gut? Let me tell you one of them. As we swallow food, our stomach and intestines stretch. There are these cells in our gut system called enterochromaffin cells that sense that stretch and flood the surrounding tissue with serotonin. Between swallows, the lower esophageal sphincter in our esophagus occasionally relaxes, which allowing a tiny splash of stomach acid into the esophagus. That serotonin then binds into one of the serotonin receptors, which is called 5-HT4, onto the smooth muscle cells and enteric interneurons, which ignite a wave of peristalsis, a coordinated muscle contraction that pushes any stray acid back into the stomach and clears our esophagus. So, we can think of serotonin as our gut's cleanup crew and alarm system in one, which deal with a small stomach acid splashes right away. As we discussed, serotonin acts as the alarm to clean up the esophagus from acid splash. Without this alarm, that acid keeps splashing up, and then the esophageal lining responds with a surge of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which would activate the NF-kappa B pathways in local cells. In our body, this signaling danger or stress, which would trigger a few bad moves for serotonin signaling. First, it would downregulate the 5-HT4 receptors. NF-kappa B-driven transcriptional changes reduce the 5-HT4 mRNA and protein on the smooth muscle and enteric neurons, so we would end up with a fewer receptors to hear the serotonin call, and it's getting harder to generate the cleanup peristaltic waves for the acid. Second, it would also overexpress the serotonin transporter or SERT that would pull back the 5-HT or serotonin back into the cells before it can bind to any receptors. These bad moves will make the gut motility becomes even slower and acid reflux episodes will stack up, and that is the vicious cycle of GERD and chronic stress. You might think if stress drives GERD, then just zap it with an SSRI and watch the reflux disappear. But actually, it's not that simple. SSRI, or the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, block the serotonin transporter and make the serotonin stays longer, which can lift your mood, but in the gut system, that flood of 5-HT or serotonin around the lower esophageal sphincter can backfires. Too much serotonin can overstimulate another serotonin receptors called 5-HT3, which can cranking up the pain signals, and it even can overactivate the 5-HT4 receptor in a way that it relaxes the sphincter too often, which leads to more acid in the esophagus. Well, in fact, Some research shows that SSRI users can see a 20 to 30% increase in the reflux episodes. So, when treating depression in GERD patients, we really need to tread both the stress issue and GERD case carefully. So how do we restore the balance in GERD? First, we go straight targeting the specific 5-HT4 receptor using its agonist. Drugs like mosapride and prucalopride are designed to bind selectively to those 5-HT4 receptors on the esophageal sphincter and gut smooth muscles. Too much serotonin can overstimulate the other serotonin receptor, which is called 5-HT3 receptors, and can cranking up the pain signals. By using this specific agonist to 5-HT4, they tighten the lower esophageal sphincter and kickstart the coordinated peristalsis, all without touching the pain-sensing 5-HT3 receptors. In practice, patients on mosapride often see a 30 to 40% improvement in their acid clearance times, which translates to fewer nighttime reflux episodes and also less esophageal irritation. Second, if mood support is still needed, we can sidestep the SSRI trap by choosing mild SSRI instead of the strong ones. Options like bupropion or mirtazapine leave the gut serotonin reuptake largely untouched, so we can get the mental health or the mood-lifting benefits without flooding the low esophageal sphincter. While this might be not suitable for severe depression, we can use this for the milder depression and protect the gut serotonin balance and avoid a rebound increase in their acid reflux. Finally, we need to address the root, which are the stress and lifestyle. Simple mind-body techniques such as guided breathing, short mindfulness sessions, or gentle yoga will keep our HPA axis in check, so more tryptophan can fuel serotonin production and reinforce those natural 5-HT4 pathways. We can pair that with a balanced, low-acid and high-fiber diet to reduce the acid burden and support gut health. Sustainable GERD relief truly comes not just from pills, but from nurturing a calmer and more balanced life and also eating wisely. Thank you.